Hello, I'm on here willing to answer some questions about my transition today. I'm going on the end of my third week on HRT now, so anybody, I got some rules about questions, but I'm willing to answer many different questions if anybody's curious. So Tuesday will be 3 weeks that I've been on HRT. Talking about my transition today. Almost 3 weeks on hormones. Officially, anyway. Hello, thanks for joining. I'm talking about my transition today. I'm open to questions. There are some questions that may not be permissible, but I will be lenient first time they're asked if they're inappropriate. Anybody who's persistent in questions or rude comments will get blocked, as I've shown here, but I am willing to talk about my progress so far. I'm almost 3 weeks on HRT. I've had my baseline blood work. I did actually after I started, because I've been taking a phytoestrogen supplement for the last year, suspecting that my testosterone has been declining. And after my baseline was on the 20th, is when I went in to do my blood work. I was able to check it online, the results just today, to discover that my testosterone is way too low. And my estrogen's not high enough anyway, so. And I kind of suspected that was the case. So, anybody else coming in want to ask questions about my transition? I've been technically in transition for the last 2 years, but only started hormones a little less than 3 weeks ago. If anybody's curious about the process of being on hormones, I can talk about what medications I've been taking. It's entirely likely that because my testosterone's too low, I could be taken off of the androgen blocker I'm on. Trans people in Canada and other parts of Europe have the option to go on a drug called cyproterrin. It's not generally available in the US. Apparently, I've heard it's not been approved for use in the US, but in Canada, it's generally used as an alternative to Spiro. Hello, thanks for joining. Talking about my transition today. If there are any questions about the progress of my transition, or any questions regarding transitioning or HRT, I've been in transition now for 2 years, and I just started HRT just under 3 weeks ago. So if there's anybody else joining, welcome to new people joining. Any questions about my transition or trans questions in general even? There's only a few things that I'm not willing to answer, but Florida is one state that I've heard that can be quite difficult for trans people. I don't know a lot of details about it because I haven't looked into that. I say anybody who's pursuing hormone therapy in any red states in the U.S., I would keep pushing and keep trying to get whatever it is you need. If you need referrals, if you need counselor letters. I'm not 100% sure because here, I'm in Canada. Actually, I'm in Saskatchewan. Here in Saskatchewan, it's fairly open when it comes to hormones. I basically just have to call a clinic and self-declare as a trans person to get in for consult. And because I had been taking a natural phytoestrogen supplement for the last year, my doctor decided to prescribe me right away, realizing that I've had a decline in my testosterone now. So for any new people who are coming in here, I'm talking about my transition today. I want to see if anybody has any questions for me about my transition, about transitioning in general, hormone therapy. I'm willing to answer those kind of questions. Was just talking about the anti-androgen drug that I'm on. Is called Cyproterin, and it's fairly well available in Canada. Thank you. Yeah, the Cyproterin is very well documented. Anyways, it's been around for a long time. It's always been generally used in Europe and in Canada probably the last 30 years as an androgen blocker. The reason why Spiro is still being used very commonly is because it is very common and it is also a lot cheaper. So, but after seeing the results from my blood test, just today, I went online and I was able to see them just today. I discovered that my testosterone is way too low. So, and the dose that I'm on is way less than the recommended minimum dosage for Cyproterin. It's entirely likely my doctor might just take me off of it and just keep me on estradiol. She started me on 2 milligrams of estradiol, and it's still even too low, so. Is anybody else coming around here want to ask me questions about my transition or about HRT? Any trans-related questions I might be willing to answer? I've now been on HRT just about 3 weeks. My first day was January 12th. And then I did my baseline blood work on the 20th. Went in for the extraction. And so far, I'm finding that, things are better, but I'm still finding some turbulence in my emotions here and there. I'm finding muscle fatigue, which is result from low hormones. So I'll be expecting a phone call from the clinic this week from my doctor to tell me this. I'm absolutely certain that this is going to happen. My testosterone is way too low. And I'm not even taking that much of the androgen blocker. I could probably almost go off of it. So, but we'll see what the doctor has to say. She'll know better, obviously, but comparing the relative norms, now my testosterone is way below the relative normal low level for even a cisgendered woman. It definitely has to come up a little bit, I think, but we'll have to see what the doctor says. My next follow-up is supposed to be on the 15th, but like I said, I'll probably hear from my doctor this week. New people joining, thank you for coming on. Talking about my transition today. If anybody's got any questions about my experiences or any trans-related questions I might be willing to answer. I only have a few ground rules. It's nothing major. But otherwise, I'm pretty open. If anybody's got any questions related to HRT even. I'm almost 3 weeks on HRT. Yeah, so I have noticed another thing. I have noticed a lot of sensitivity in the breast area. Now, I can openly admit here that I wear forms, so these aren't fully developed. Obviously, I wouldn't be fully developed at this point. But I do have some under there, and they are tender, especially right underneath the areola. And I've noticed too that my body hair is already starting to get thinner. I have been using an IPL device on my chest and stomach hair, and up until recently, it never really did anything until, my testosterone got really low. So, and now my testosterone is apparently registering lower than it should be. So, yeah, as I've mentioned here already, I'm likely going to get a phone call from my doctor this week telling me that my T is too low and so is my estrogen. Sorry, I already blocked that one. Yeah, so I'm talking about my transition today. If anybody wants to ask me questions about the progress of my transition, I'm 2 years into transitioning. I am almost 3 weeks on HRT. But for the last year, I had been on phytoestrogen supplements to supplement my hormones from declining testosterone. So for excuse me, for my androgen blocker, I'm taking a medication called cyproterin. And now people in the US, unfortunately, don't have access to this one. It's different, a lot different than Spiro. It's more of a testosterone controller. The main component will target the actual production of testosterone. Rule number 3, Mr. Chasewell. Blocked. So, once again, rule number 3, rude or ignorant comments, the viewers will be blocked. So I'm here wanting to have a civilized discussion about transitioning and hormone therapy. Hi, Shelly. Thanks for joining. And hi to Chachanamo. Is that how you say it? Yeah, I'm talking about my transition today. I'm almost 3 weeks into HRT. And I've been transitioning for 2 years now. So I'm willing to answer some questions about my transition experience so far, or if anybody has any questions about transitioning in general or about HRT, I'd be willing to answer questions. Thank you, Shelly. I really appreciate that. I get a lot of really great comments from people on my videos and stuff, so I really appreciate the support I'm getting from everybody. And my growth on this app has actually demonstrated that for sure. Excuse me. So yeah, once again, I've been on HRT now for almost 3 weeks. Started on the 12th. But I've been taking a natural phytoestrogen supplement for the last year to supplement low testosterone. When I mentioned this to the doctor, that's when she immediately decided to write the prescription for me. So I started out with 2 milligrams of estradiol, which is actually low from what I could see from my blood test, which I was able to look at today online. I did the extraction on the 20th. So that tells me there, my testosterone's too low, my estrogen's still too low. They may take me off of the androgen blocker, the cyproterin that I'm on. So anybody who's in Canada and in Europe, this one is available. In the United States, unfortunately, Cipro hasn't been approved. So, and normally Cipro is offered as an alternative to the Spiro, because Spiro has a lot of, really wicked side effects that can cause problems to older trans people. And cyproterin has way less side effects. Now, the only one side effect that it can really push it is increased prolactin production. But once again, my prolactin was tested on that blood test, and it's only showing about 5.8, and the high end is 14. So I'm not too worried about it. I am feeling some tenderness in the breast area. I do have forms that I wear that gives me that bounce there. But I do have some form of breast tissue underneath there, and I can definitely tell. It's been coming along for the last year already that I've been on phytoestrogen, and now switching to actually being on estradiol. It's kind of pushed it a little bit more, I think. So, anybody else coming in have any questions for me? Curious about my experiences? Any questions about hormone therapy? I've done a lot of research in hormone therapy. I actually did an episode on my YouTube channel, specifically focused at feminization hormone therapy. And this was one that I did before I had my consult. So then when I went to do my consult appointment, the doctor actually mentioned to me that I seem to know quite a bit, and I said, yeah, it's because I did the research for that episode. So, and it definitely helped, because when she started talking about which androgen blocker I wanted to go on, I was already settled that I wasn't going to go on Spiro. When she suggested Cipro, I was like, yeah. But the dose that I'm on is actually about maybe half to a quarter of what the minimum recommended dosage is for cyproterin. Generally 25 to 50 milligrams is the minimum dose, but even off of a quarter of a tablet, my testosterone is well below the normal level for a cis woman. So that pretty much goes to prove to me that my testosterone has definitely been in decline, especially over the last few years. And I described all the symptoms to my doctor on the 11th for my appointment, and she's like, yeah, those are all the classic symptoms of andropause. So, So, it's definitely moving forward, but at this point, I still think that I need to bump up a little bit more, so we'll just have to see. I'll be expecting a phone call from the doctor this week, possibly Tuesday, if not tomorrow. What age? Well, technically, I discovered the word transgender when I was around 7 or 8. it was actually, and I'm dating myself here, it was actually on an episode of the sitcom Night Court back in 1987. Now, I have an episode on my YouTube channel where I talk about the history of my trans struggle, and I mentioned that particular Night Court episode in that video. So as soon as I heard that word, it just clicked. And from then on, I just kept thinking, what, am I trans? Is that the reason why I have feelings? Am I trans? And it's been one of those things, right? Just like any other trans person most other trans people anyway, will discover it rather early. And then all of a sudden, they discover it early and then deny it for so long. Maybe you live in an environment that isn't favorable to transition. Maybe you have family who are, slightly on the right and don't really favor that. Makes it difficult. That's why there are a lot more late life trans people now than there ever was, and because the visibility is there now. We're trying to be more visible. We're trying to show people we exist, right? And the diversity that we have in the trans community as well. Society needs to realize that not every single trans person wants to go the full route and get surgery and live the life like a straight cis woman. But society seems to think that that's the goal of every single trans person, is to transition, have surgery, for a trans girl to have surgery and be with a man. And unfortunately, I'm not really interested in cis men, really, that much. So, hi, you walked in just at the wrong time. I'm sorry, but that's unfortunately just the way it is I'm not really interested in cis men. It's never really been a thing to me. I tried it and it didn't really turn my crank. So I'm more the term that we use is more sapphic. So people who are more attracted to femmes, fays, and theys, like that sort of thing. So that's more where I lean. So then the big misconception. You're perfect. Thank you. You're very flattering, I'll tell you that much. I don't miss one of your comments, I'll tell you. So, but anyways, the point of the matter is that another thing that society needs to realize is that hormones don't change who you are. They don't change your mind. More often what it is that our mind isn't aligned with our body chemistry. And then as soon as the hormones change, like when we go on hormone therapy, and this is what I've noticed too, is that my hormone chemistry is now lining up to my brain wiring. And my brain is finally starting to work properly. And I noticed that when I started taking the phytoestrogen, but my estrogen levels were never high enough, even as high as they are now. Because the natural supplements, they are prone to metabolism because they're plant-based. Anything that's plant-based, any sort of plant-based supplement, metabolizes in the body like any other plant. But the estradiol drug is exactly the same chemical composition as estrogen in a woman's body, and it is not affected by metabolism. So all I have to do is just have it up to a certain level and maintain that level. But one thing that I've noticed is that I do have the level throughout the day, but then once the estrogen's worn off, it just drops right off like a sheer cliff. And seeing the numbers on my blood tests and realizing how low they all are would definitely explain some of the other ways that I've been feeling recently. Like, I'm generally feeling better because my estrogen's higher, but I'm also still roller coaster emotion, you know? And that's also to be expected until everything gets leveled off. One thing I'd like to mention here, though, is I did discover today, I was doing some research, to find out alternative ways of testing your hormones. And I discovered that it is possible to do hormone testing with your saliva. That there are accurate levels of estradiol, progesterone. I'm not on progesterone, but I probably could test for it. Cyproterin is technically a progesterone. And you can also test for testosterone in your saliva. So I'm wanting to talk to my doctor about that because I don't want to get poked every month just to check my hormones. If I can do it orally, that would be a lot easier for me. Anybody new joining? Talking about my transition or transitioning in general. If anybody's got any trans-related questions. I'm almost 3 weeks on HRT now. I'm an analyst by nature, and I've always been like that. And I like to do research. I like to learn new things all the time. Thanks, Anne Elizabeth. I really appreciate your compliment. Yeah, and so then any of the information that I'm picking up on stuff like this, like with regards to hormone therapy, you know, trans rights, trans issues, LGBT issues. Like I've done an episode recently on issues in the world for the LGBT community. I'm doing really well today, thank you. I've been having troubles the last few days, but it's all been triggered, so I'm just trying to... Yeah, you're welcome. No problem. Yeah, I've been just trying to push through. My mother found out yesterday that I'm on hormones, and she flipped over on a text message that I posted to my face, or sorry, to my TikTok. If anybody wants to go take a look, I posted that one just today. And now we've been chatting about it since then, and it's not been a major problem. But the point of the matter is my mother just likes to jump to conclusions all the time. She likes to assume so much about me and doesn't really know a lot about me. She knows the major details, a lot of my interests, you know, the stuff that I like. But that's pretty much it. She pretty much has to relearn me. But she's always been assuming about me. So, but now that I'm showing her some of the evidence from my blood testing and telling her about this and that and giving her more details, she's starting to understand more. But it's a slow process for her. I can pick up on things a lot faster, and I always have. But my mother's always lived a more sheltered life, never really been exposed to too much outside stimuli. And I've always wanted that exposure. I've always wanted to be exposed to the stimuli. So, and that's one of the biggest reasons why I've acquired the knowledge that I have about so many different things. So, but yeah, I want to be on here and help other other trans and non-binary folks with regards to information about transitioning, because everybody's transition is different. No two people have the same transition. There's always going to be differences, and the hormones are going to affect everybody slightly different. But oftentimes, those people who actually do decide to go all the way and, have surgery and that's all part of their plan when they start transitioning. That's something that they decide to do right at the very beginning of their transition and be like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get on hormones and I'm going to do this. I'm going to have surgery. And then this is what I'm going to do. For the majority of us, though, especially us who are non-binary, we don't have any plans. And rule number 1 actually states that I've had no surgery. I have no plans for surgery, just to make that pretty clear. Thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. I'll see you again later. Yeah, so is anybody else coming through this landing on your FYP? Come on over and ask me questions. Anybody's curious about my transition so far? I'm almost 3 weeks on HRT now, officially, finally. After being on phytoestrogen, natural phytoestrogen supplements for a year, supplementing low testosterone. And I got to see the doctor January 11th, and because of all that, she wrote me a prescription. I started officially on the 12th. So, and then I went in on the 20th for my baseline blood test. Test results have come back. I haven't heard from the doctor yet, but that'll be this week. But I was able to check them online, and yeah, my testosterone's too low, and so is my estrogen. So it's possible the doctor may take me off of the androgen blocker that I'm on, which right now is, it's called Cyproterran. And it's unfortunately not available in the US, but I'm in Canada. And it's also available in many European countries. It's different than Spiro, and when Spiro will actually convert the testosterone into fatty proteins. This will actually block the testosterone from being produced or from leaching on to the testosterone receptor. So it's kind of a double whammy in that way. And then the testosterone just flushes itself out. Spiro is a sulfur pill which causes increased diuretic effect. Cyproterran is not. So it doesn't cause an increase in diuretic effect. However, they both do increase liver function. So it's one thing that has to be monitored during any sort of HRT regimen is liver and kidney functionality, liver platelets, as well as hemoglobin. Now, I've always felt like that I've had high platelets, and my blood test shows that my platelet count is just below the high end, or my hemoglobin, that is. It's just below the high end level. So that tells me that that's running pretty good. It's only cholesterol, triglycerides that are really of concern. My cholesterol is not even that high even. So I'm mostly concerned about getting my hormone levels in check. And I did a little bit of research today to check out alternative ways to do hormone tests. And I discovered that there's a way you can test your hormone levels through your saliva. So I'm going to talk to my doctor about that, see if it's possible they could hook me up with some saliva test kits and start self-monitoring my hormone levels that way. And then at least I can turn around and say, well, this is working, this is not working, we're at this level here, and we're at this level there. And then I'll know where I'm at from time to time. I won't have to go in, get blood taken out, and then wait a week, wondering what's going on. So, Yes, anybody else coming through here? If this is landing on your FYP, I'm talking about my transition today. Anybody has any questions? I'm almost 3 weeks on HRT now. And I've gotten my blood results back after my extraction on the 20th. My first official day on HRT was the 12th of January. So this week, Wednesday, will mark the start of week 4 officially on HRT. Anybody has any questions for me about my progress, about my experiences so far? I started transitioning officially 2 years ago. And a year ago, I started taking phytoestrogen supplements, a natural plant-based supplement that was supplementing my declining testosterone levels. And now after starting HRT and seeing my blood work baseline, now knowing my testosterone has declined a lot. So and it is way lower than the low point for a cisgendered woman. And my estrogen is even too low as well still. So I will be hearing from the doctor this week, most likely. I'm not 100% sure what the doctor is going to move me to this time. Will likely take me off the Cipro. But we'll see. She may also double my estro, because it looks like it might need to be increased a significant amount. But again, we'll see. I'm not going to make any real speculation and say, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. Because I don't know what the doctor is going to think. The doctor will have her own way of determining what direction we should go. And then we'll just do what the doctor thinks is best. So, and this is the thing that I was wanting to lead towards for the last year since I discovered my declining testosterone and started supplementing with the phytoestrogen. Phytoestrogen is, because it's plant-based, it is totally affected by metabolism and metabolizes just as fast as any plant. So imagine eating lettuce and having that metabolize. It's pretty much the same thing. The estradiol you get in prescription form is the chemical equivalent of estrogen in a cis woman and is not affected by metabolism at all. So it doesn't wear off. It's only affected by your weight, your lean body mass. So the doctor will likely recommend your levels based on your levels. You know, your height and weight, your mass. And then make adjustments from there. But again, the way it's looking for me is I may have to kind of tweak and tweak and tweak now. I was hoping I didn't have to do this. But I did do a little bit of research today and I found an alternative way to do blood testing. If anybody's interested in hearing about this, there is a way to test your hormone levels with your saliva. And I'm going to talk to my doctor about getting hooked up for this to see if they can just provide me these test kits for me to do at home. Because they're just an at-home test kit. And they're supposed to give you accurate levels of estradiol, progesterone, and testosterone. Now, I'm not on progesterone. I wouldn't start progesterone yet. But I probably could detect a little bit because the cyproterin actually was originally developed as a progestin to kind of act as progesterone, but it's more effective as an androgen blocker than it is as a progestin. So, but again, we'll just have to see. It could be other things too. I could be taking a natural supplement combination, like with the omega supplements and green tea supplements, could be killing testosterone too. So I really just need to see what's going on when the doctor contacts me. So So I got about 15 minutes left here. If anybody's coming on, sees this on your FYP and has any questions about my experiences, transition, about HRT in general, or about trans issues in general. I'm almost certain rule number 2 is deterring a lot of people from stopping by. If these rules are not deterring you, please come and ask me anything. Welcome to new people. Come on in and ask me questions. I'm talking about my transition today. I've now been on hormones for just about 3 weeks. But I've been, officially on HRT for just about 3 weeks. But I've been taking a phytoestrogen supplement, plant-based, for the last year. My favorite color is red. That's a reasonable enough question. If you check my profile page, you'll scroll down. Most of the outfits I'm wearing in the videos there are red. So, but are there any questions about my transition or about HRT? I can answer HRT related questions. I've done research in feminization therapy. I have an episode on my YouTube channel. I typically use they, them pronouns. I accept pretty well all pronouns, but prefer they, them. So, but yeah, I've been officially on HRT since January 12th. And the anti-androgen drug that I'm on currently, which I may end up getting off of it because my testosterone's too low, the drug is called cyproterrin. And now, unfortunately, I've heard that this is not available in the U.S. because it has not been approved for use federally. But I'm in Canada, and it's been approved for use in Canada since 1980. So this was one of those drugs that we have access to here in alternative to Spiro, where Spiro is a sulfur pill. It's actually a diuretic. Spiro is also typically prescribed to people who are retaining water because it helps to strip any excess water from their system. Speaking of water. So, but the cyproterrin doesn't do that. It isn't a diuretic at all. So all it does is just target the production of testosterone and then prevent any extra stray testosterone from attaching to the testosterone receptor. So this way it has fewer side effects. But the cyproterrin can also cause its own prolactin response. So between the estradiol and the cyproterrin, I could possibly have a massive increase in my prolactin, but in my blood test, I did do my baseline on the 20th, and I was able to check it online. My prolactin is probably sitting at about 5.9, where the high end is about 14. But I am feeling some tenderness in the breast area. I'm going to show this one more time. I got about 10 minutes before I get off here, but I wear forms underneath here. That's what gives me the shape. So, but I do have some formage under there that's coming up, and I can definitely feel underneath my areolas where it's getting sore. I can definitely feel it, developing there. So I can definitely tell that there's breast development. So, but it even started from when I started on phytoestrogen. I was getting prolactin response from that as well. And I even suspect that one of the hormones that are in phytoestrogen, I've heard of phytolactin, which is very similar to prolactin. That could even be pushing it too. My favorite animal. I like cats. I used to have a cat up until just before Christmas, actually. She just passed away. But if I was to choose between cats and dogs, I would actually prefer a cat. Because cats can clean themselves. They don't have to go outside, go to the bathroom. You don't have to take them for walks every day. The only thing you have to do is feed them, water them, and clean out their shit boxes. So, but I don't even have to do any of that anymore now, so. 10 more minutes. I'm on here for, if anybody's coming on, this is on your FYP. If you're coming over here, I'm willing to answer some questions about my transition, about my experiences, taking hormones, taking phytoestrogen, being on HRT now. I've been taking phytoestrogen for a year before I started HRT. Started officially on the 12th of January. I did my baseline blood test on the 20th. Went in for my extraction. And then just today, I went online to check to see if my results were in. And I discovered that my testosterone is way too low. And so is my estrogen. Plus, a couple other things of concern. High triglycerides and slightly high cholesterol. But other than that, pretty well everything else is within normal range. So I'm expecting to hear from the doctor this week, possibly Tuesday. Is the time when the doctors will do their callbacks. Like the doctor I see will do her callbacks to HRT patients. So at that point, I'll find out for sure. Because for the Cyproteran that I'm on, generally a full dose of Cipro is between 50 and 100 milligrams, which I thought was a lot. Because my doctor put me on 1/4 tablet, which is actually about 12.5 milligrams. Plus I'm taking 2 milligrams of estradiol. So I'm absolutely certain that I'll have to at least increase my estradiol and possibly even get off the Cipro. So, but once again, I'm not going to know until I get contacted by the doctor. But I know for a fact that my hormones are still too low. I can even feel it. And I've been able to feel the changes in my hormones now for the last 2-3 years maybe. So when I suspected my testosterone was going down, I was absolutely right. So, yeah. So, yeah. And then my mother wasn't too pleased to find out that I'd started already, but what can I do? It's not like it's going to change me instantly. You know, it's going to be years. It'll be years for me to change anything about my body. I don't expect any major changes to happen for a while. Now I know that breast tenderness is actually happening, and it's been happening since I started off phyto, but it's getting a little more intense now. Almost having to take painkillers or something to deal with the pain, but yeah, but otherwise, I'm definitely feeling better. My estrogen levels are higher than they used to be, but then that also puts my testosterone levels lower than that used to be. So, but well, again, we'll just have to see what the doctor says, what she thinks that I should be doing at this point. If I should be getting off the Cipro, changing that dosage level. I live in Saskatchewan. Yeah, smack dab in the middle of the prairies. Yay! We're looking at more snow starting tonight, tomorrow. 6 to 8 inches. Not looking forward to that. So, last few minutes here. If anybody's coming on, have any questions about my transition? I was just talking about the prescription I was on, that I'm on, the Ciproterin. I was talking about that. It's different than Spiro, where Spiro will actually convert your testosterone into fatty proteins and then flush it out through the diuretic effect. Ciproterin actually blocks the receptors and then slows down production of testosterone. So, but the dosage that I'm on is extremely small, which is actually a quarter of a tablet, 12.5 milligrams, where a standard dosage for someone transitioning is probably about 50 milligrams, which is a whole tablet. So I'm almost betting that I'm going to get a call from the clinic this week to tell me that your testosterone is too low and so is your estrogen. So we're going to need to make an adjustment. So I'm pretty certain of that. So yeah, but I want to see if there's a way that I can get into to get my hands on saliva tests for hormones, because I found out today, did a little bit of research, that it is possible to test for levels of estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone in your saliva. So yeah, I want to be able to see if I can get my hands on some of those at-home saliva tests, so I don't have to constantly be getting poked. Now there are tests that you can get that are similar to the glucose test, where you just prick your finger. I don't know if I even want to do that even. And if I can do it with my saliva, they say the only reason you can't use saliva is if you're doing transmuscular injection. And I'm not doing transmuscular injections for any of my stuff. It's all oral. It's all oral pills. I have to cut my Ciproterin with a pill cutter. So, and how much fun that is to watch it crumble apart, and you're going through it, and okay, there's the big piece. Oh, there's a bunch of little pieces that I can turn around and add together to make, a full quarter piece. So, I guess if I don't have to take it anymore, I won't. If the doctor phones me and says, "Stop taking your Cipro," okay, I'll stop. I know why. So, yeah, it's coming along. I'm just making the adjustments and having to move up from there and see where everything's going to end up. So, but it's almost the top of the hour here. If there are no last minute questions from anybody here on right now, looks like I only have one person. I'm probably going to shut down my live soon here. I'd like to thank whoever's right up to the end there. If you have any questions for me right now, go ahead and ask, or if I've talked enough. Oh yes, you're still there. Oh yeah, there's other people. I'm getting likes from people. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Just gonna move forward with it now, and not really concerned about anything but my own health. And that's the biggest reason why I'm, trying to get really focused on this. And I just mentioned about 15 minutes ago or 20 minutes ago that I used to have a cat, but she passed away before Christmas. I had her 9 years. So she just passed away on December 21st. So, and I did an ode video scared of COVID, yeah. Yeah, it's not necessarily an issue in my neck of the woods, but it's still pretty bad. I'm double vaxxed. My daughter's got her first dose. We're gonna get in to get our next doses. I'll get the Delta booster. She'll get her second dose. So, but yeah, not too worried. I'm only worried about getting my hormones in check and making sure that my body's gonna work properly. So yeah, I am actually looking forward to hearing from the doctor this week. I'm absolutely certain they're going to call me and be like, yeah, we're going to have to make a change. Yeah, I thought so. So, yeah. So, but thanks for everyone who stuck around right to the end here. I'm going to shut this down right away. Yeah, I have an aunt who had breast cancer, had to get a mastectomy. Yeah, and it's because her hormones were too high. So she has to go on medication to bring her hormones down. And now my hormones are too low. I got to go on medication to bring them up. So, yeah, it's a thing. You know, when you become older, anybody in their 40s can have declining hormones, men and women. You know, and you don't want them to be too low because that can cause health problems on its own. So, but again, thanks to everybody who stopped by. And this hour went by really fast for me. It's been the fastest hour-long live stream I've ever done. So, all right, I'll talk to you guys later. We'll see ya.